Hello and welcome to the Thursday edition of the WynActive Webcast. Great to have you here again. And the week's just flying by, aren't they? Hey, just in this lockdown period, but slowly we're getting out, which is fantastic. But I'd like to introduce my partner in crime, the co-host from Wyndham City, James Robertella. How are you, James?
Even better today, Barry. I mean, we're 4 days down in our third and final Find Your 30 challenge, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I think we've got about 350 people, both WynActive members and also just members of the Wyndham community and anyone else out there that is participating. So, getting my activity in, and geez, the week has flown by. So, really excited about having a chat today with Kash and getting an understanding of the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation. Excited, Barry, around today's WynActive webcast.
Fantastic. Thanks, James. And it is my pleasure and my absolute pleasure to introduce Kash Bouns from the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation. Welcome, Kash. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here and great to see you as well after a long time.
Yes, yeah. Look, we've known each other probably for 3 years now, liaising around men's health programs, and certainly recently, James, we've been working a lot with Sons of the West and Daughters of the West, which are two amazing programs that I'm sure we'll hear about soon. But how are you going, Kash? Tell us about your background and how you've got to be at the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, look, long story. I'll try to keep it quick, but I'm originally from Pakistan, and I used to live in Kuwait. My father was an engineer there, so I used to live with him. Loved cricket growing up, and when I finished high school, like most of young people, wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. One day I was just playing cricket with a couple of Aussies, and they said, "Why don't you go to Melbourne for your education?" And as soon as they said the word Melbourne, my eyes lit up, and I remembered Pakistan winning the 1992 Cricket World Cup. So from that moment on, my heart was set on Melbourne. So I arrived in Melbourne in 2005 as an international student to study accounting and finance. As I was studying that, because I had that interest in sport and that interest in community, I started volunteering for a number of organizations, and ultimately landed myself a job at Cricket Victoria in their community department. And slowly from there, I went from cricket to S1E35 Footy Club, then to the AFL Victoria, AFL, and now been at the Doggies for the last 3.5 years. So it's been quite a ride.
Brilliant story, Kash. And I'm sure I know in Wyndham we have a lot of lovers of cricket and men and women that love playing the game, but it's a wonderful story that you have.
Yeah, big South Asian community in the West, especially in Wyndham.
Tell us a bit about the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation. What do you do, and how has it come about as an arm of the Western Bulldogs Football Club?
Yeah, a great question, James. And as you would know, living in the West, Western suburbs are very unique in their culture and in their makeup. And even, throughout the history of Melbourne, Western suburbs been unique because of the blue-collar workers, and that sense of community has always been strong in the West. And Western Bulldogs Football Club, being the only AFL club this side of the bridge, has been a bit of a symbol of pride and connection for people in the West. So Western Bulldogs Football Club has always seen itself in being the community club of the AFL, not because of any strategic reason initially, but just because of where it was and what it stood for. But over the years, the club has recognized that is something that we do really well, and it is a bit of a competitive advantage for us in the way we engage our communities. So around a decade ago, the club decided that just to future-proof our commitment to community and to continue to build on the good work that the club had been doing for over a century, they decided to create a foundation, which in a way is a charity arm of the club, but it has an independent board, independent governance, own funding and everything like that to ensure that it's an arm's length from the club. And regardless of where the club is in terms of its membership revenue, its on-field performance, sponsorship, our commitment to the community is always safeguarded and is looked after by the foundation and its independent board. We were used to called Spirit West Foundation, but now we're called Western Bulldogs Community Foundation, which obviously helps us leverage the brand of the football club to engage the audience through a number of programs, including Sons of the West and Daughters of the West programs that we run in partnership with both of your organizations.
That's fascinating, and I think it just, to me, says how important the community is to the Western Bulldogs as well. To separate it slightly from the club just to ensure that commitment is there is fantastic, and well done to the Western Bulldogs for doing that. Cash, can you tell us about some of the programs you run, and especially about Sons and Daughters, which are obviously the very high-profile programs?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we've experimented with a number of programs over the history of our footy club. So just to give you a few examples, we were one of the first clubs that started sending players out to schools for appearances in a systematic way back in the 70s and the 80s. And now those school player appearances have actually become something that the whole of the industry has adapted. Similarly, because Western suburbs are the most multicultural, one of the most multicultural regions in the whole of the country, we were one of the first footy clubs to embrace the multicultural diversity and had multicultural galas as early as 90s and 80s. So we've done a number of things, but these days for the foundation, we operate across 4 areas. Number one is health and well-being, where we run programs like Sons of the West, Daughters of the West program for adult males and females living in the West. And those programs are about mental health, physical health, gender equality, and healthy eating. And Sons of the West, thanks to both of your organizations, is about to start in a month's time in an online environment for the first time, or in a hybrid environment. So we got that health and well-being. Our second focus area is youth, where we work with young people, create leaders for the future. And we work with young people aged 12 to 16 and deliver their leadership skills. And then we have a diversity stream, which works within multicultural and indigenous communities, including those who are newly arrived in the country. And especially last couple of years ago with the so-called African gang crisis, we launched our African Action Plan, and now also have a mentoring program for young African Australians as well. So that's our diversity stream. And our fourth stream, which is not necessarily about program delivery, is what we call community advocacy. Because Barry, James, as you guys would appreciate, the biggest asset we have is our brand and our players, and our ability to add to the social discourse on any topic is huge. So we take that responsibility very seriously. So that community advocacy piece, where we use our brand to advance progressive causes, including marriage equality, indigenous rights, or multicultural communities, is something that we take great pride in and spend a lot of effort in as well.
Barry, I think just from what Cash has been saying, that really goes to the heart of the community, and we know Wyndham to be a very multicultural and diverse community, and it's brilliant to have the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation delivering these programs within our facilities and across our municipality. Cash, you sort of touched on a bit earlier around how you might have adapted during this current COVID situation, and I'm aware of some online webinars that you've also been delivering, but how has the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation had to pivot and change in terms of its delivery of these programs and services?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and Barry knows this quite well, and I'm sure, James, you would know through your work at Wyndham. At the Community Foundation, we're quite stubborn about in-person program delivery, right? So we would balk at someone saying to us, do online engagement, or you can find efficiencies, or you can find cost savings or whatnot. And we've always stood against that, not necessarily against innovation, but we really take pride in the way we create an environment where people come together, and not only they learn from us, more importantly, they learn from each other. and they learn to support each other and form relationships that they take beyond the program duration. I'll give you a couple of examples, and both are from Wyndham, which is great. So one of the girls who did our Goal African Mentoring Program, she said in a video which we're just shooting, and it was not a pointed question, but she just said, we asked her what was the greatest thing about the program, and she said, everywhere I go, I get judged. I feel like I'm getting judged for the skin color of my skin, apart from when I'm at the Western Bulldogs, which was huge for us. And similarly, I went to a Sons of the West graduation in Wyndham, and there was this guy, there was a South Asian guy who stood out and spoke at the graduation, and he said that before I did this program, I could never cry, but this program has allowed me to cry and has redefined for me what it means to be a man. Which was huge, big example. So we're really proud of the work we do. So when this COVID-19 happened, initially our response was that we will go ahead with our programs with some restrictions in place. But then when we realized that how serious it was, we decided to postpone our program for a couple of months. But we were hoping we'll be able to get back in a couple of months. But then progressively, as the rest of society, we also realize that that's not going to happen. This crisis is going to have a really long tail, especially with some of our programs where we are dealing with cohorts that have chronic disease and things like that, and are a bit older as well. So we did a co-design process and consultation. So we got around 100 community program delivery partners. We had thousands of alumni. So we did some quick surveys, some quick focus groups with those partners, and realized that digital transformation was the only way for us to go forward. So we actually created a digital transformation strategy, which has 3 pillars. And those 3 pillars were progressive. So the number 1 pillar was around social media and awareness, where we started promoting some of the government messages on health and well-being through our social media channels, but also started to share some positive stories and some tips and tricks for people to stay engaged during this period, a bit like what you guys have done at Wyndham as well. And then our second pillar was around a deeper engagement, which is a bit more like this webcast, for example, or the webinars that we did, where we can actually get together and explore a topic in more detail than what you can do in a social media post, for example. So that was the second pillar for us. And then the third pillar is ultimately online delivery, which we're starting our youth programs in mid-June, and then Sons of the West in July. So 3-pronged strategy where we really had to transform our business, transform our way of thinking. And if we had not done that, not only we had lost an important touch point with the community, but even from a staffing point of view, we probably would have had to stand down more staff than we are currently doing. So yeah, big shift for us, but all for the right reasons, I believe.
So Kash, Sons and Daughters, just iconic programs, I think, within Victoria. And tell us a little bit about, because I know it's not just the western suburbs of Melbourne, it spreads out quite a long way. Can you tell us about some of the local communities you are in?
Look, it started with a couple of sites in 2014 with around 100 odd men, and now it's grown to 17 locations and 700 men, which is just fantastic. I think in Wyndham alone we got 2 or 3 sites for sons and similar for daughters, which is great. So yeah, Inner West is our heartland. So that's Maribyrnong, Melton, Brimbank, Hobsons Bay, and Wyndham. And then Ballarat is another one, which we consider our heartland. So those 6, we got those locations covered. And then in rural Victoria, we got Maryborough and also Horsham. And in Metro, we also got Sunbury, which is City of Hume, and City of Whittlesea. And then we've done some collaboration when you were at YMCA with Melbourne Footy Club and down in Southeast as well. So yeah, it continues to grow. We've created also a social enterprise out of it, where if anyone is interested to do the program anywhere in the state or anywhere in the country, we can help them deliver that as well. But our major focus is still our heartland, where we'll continue to deliver those free services in partnership with local government agencies and organizations such as yours, Barry.
Kash, I'm interested further to the sons and the daughters of the West, and who are getting involved, and what are some of the outcomes for a lot of the participants that are involved in these programs?
Look, so initially we only had Sons of the West program, right? And it was basically started because there was a lot of evidence out there that suggested that men were more likely to commit suicide, more likely to be obese, more likely to not see a GP and things like that. And people who were here before me came up with this idea that if we could use the power of a footy club to engage those males who are otherwise hard to engage, then we can deliver those health messages. So that's how it started. And it was quite light on in the beginning, but over time it's become very complex, where we've got around 100 delivery partners involved. Every session is evidence-based, and we have Victoria University rigorously evaluate every single segment of the program. And the 4 key things that we work on, as I said, are mental health, physical health, gender equality, and healthy eating. So we make sure we cover those topics. But on top of that, we do things like, bowel cancer, gambling, drugs, addiction, all those sort of topics, which we choose in partnership with our local council. So as you would be aware, Wyndham City Council will have a health and well-being plan. So what we do, we take our direction from the state government's priorities and what we as a foundation want to achieve, and then we partner with local governments and understand what cohorts you want to target. So for example, Melton may want to target people living in a certain suburb or people over a certain age group. Wyndham might want to target people from different cultural backgrounds and vice versa. So we have a model that is quite streamlined across the board, but then we can adapt some elements of the program based on what any particular local government needs, because they are our primary partners in delivery. So in partnership with local governments, we identified different locations, cohorts. We start promoting the program to them. And then as they start attending the program from session on session, we build on their knowledge base. And as I said, everything gets evaluated, and the proof is in the pudding, where the research has indicated the benefits it has, not only for the community, but more importantly, the ripple effect beyond themselves and beyond their families. So some of these men will go on and form their walking groups that continue after they go back to their men's sheds. And in Wyndham, I know that we specifically with Janelle, we work on making sure that we're connecting these men to some of the things that the council is supporting, so they have somewhere to go to after they finish the program and continue to be engaged in the community. So yeah, research captures some things, but we know that there are a lot of benefits even beyond that, not only for the individuals, but their families and the broader community as well.
I think what's really exciting for me is that I can only see sons and daughters becoming stronger and stronger. And that's the reason is that Council, in conjunction with Western Bulldogs Community Foundation, have delivered a great program, and it's been delivered at Eagle Stadium in the past for both programs. But what's happened now is that WynActive and Wyndham City Council are working together to deliver this program. So together, I can just see us growing this program, even more than it currently is. And we've got Nathan on board, who's a WynActive fitness coach, but also experienced in delivering health programs to men and women. And he's super excited to get on board and run with this. He's fantastic. I'm not sure whether you've met him yet, Kash.
No, I haven't, but I know, and Alyssa and Kat in my team and Kwan, they would have probably met them, and they're the ones who actually do all the work, to be honest. And they're the ones who've made this program so strong. But I think we've always had strong buy-in from Wyndham City Council, which is huge. But Barry, you've been an advocate for that program even before you were in the West. So with you in the West, we are only going to get stronger. You're absolutely right.
Brilliant. Kash, further to yourself, and how have you gone about managing your time, and obviously having to work in a different space while we lock down and social and keep social distancing in place? How have you managed yourself through this time?
Look, I think initially everyone went through that a little bit of shock. So when the news started to break, I think the first week when we were still in the office, I spent it all in a bunker room. So we had 2 different bunkers room going. In one bunker room was all the Bulldogs executive, which I'm also part of. So I was in that. And when I used to come out of that, I used to go to another bunker, which was the Community Foundation bunker, where all our staff was, and we were workshopping different scenarios. And I was saying that to Alyssa, one of my managers in my team who manages Sons of the West and Daughters of the West programs, that it was that 1 week that really set us up, because we actually brainstormed so many different options that we were prepared to some degree for whatever came our way. And then when we, went home and started working from home, things were a bit slow. But then we realized that the impact on our industry, the AFL industry, will be huge because of no crowds, no games potentially at some point. And a lot of people, it's quite public that a lot of people ended up losing their jobs or being stood down. And that then had a flow-on impact on the Community Foundation as well, even though we are a separate legal entity, but we are still part of the AFL ecosystem. So we had to really navigate that time where we were trying to work out with what was happening at the AFL industry, but also consulting stakeholders like yourselves and understanding where do we stand in this new world. And ultimately, as I said, it landed us on that digital transformation strategy. And professionally, from that point onwards, that's been my key focus. And making sure that I'm keeping my team motivated, keeping them engaged, giving them the support that they need, and building the business case for them to have enough hours to do justice to this strategy, and then trying to secure enough revenue to ensure that we can actually deliver on those programs. So professionally, that's just kept me very busy. I talked about the webinars, so a bit like you two, I ended up hosting our webinar series twice a week as well. So that was a new learning opportunity for me. So it's been a big growth opportunity for me. That's how I see it. If you look at it, how it would have developed me as a person, how it would have developed my team, the resilience that I've seen in my team, the maturity, the way I've seen them grow, the way I've grown myself personally and put ourselves out of our comfort zone. I think those are all positive signs. And but personally, on the other hand, there are a lot of people, and sometimes, I see it because one of the positives, Barry, James, you would have noticed out of this is people are spending a lot more time with their families. They're a lot more on their health and well-being, getting to know their kids a bit more. I probably haven't got to that stage because I've just been so focused on getting this new strategy on board. But still, just by the virtue of being at home, I'm seeing my kids a bit more. I'm spending a bit more time with them. They know who I am, which is good. So I think personally as well, there are definitely benefits. And as it work at the foundation, the strategy tapers off and we sort of embedded in, I'm being able to use my own personal time a bit more better as well. So I feel like as a nation, firstly, we're lucky the way we've emerged out of this crisis. We're not all the way out yet, but so far we've done very well. And similarly, then I feel as an organization, it's all relative, but relatively we've done well. And as a team and as an individual, I feel I've been blessed.
Well, fantastic. That was a great response. And I loved how you talked about the foundation and what the requirements were there, and part of the AFL ecosystem. And now you're finding that time for yourself, which is fantastic and well done. Yeah, great stuff. Cash, we love to practice gratitude on our webcast, and we like all our guests, and James and I'll do it in a minute, but tell us what you're grateful for today. So, yeah, what are you grateful for? What are you expressing gratitude for at the moment?
Look, I'm grateful to be with you too. That's it. You know.
That's the best answer we've ever had,
Exactly.
by the way.
Yeah, you can leave it there if you want, Cash.
No, I think, and I'm genuinely saying that because I think one of the great things that I felt grateful. Yesterday we had Vic Health CEO Sandra Demir on our webinar, for example. He's an internationally accomplished professional and an advocate in health and well-being. So just to have him in that webinar and get to know him more and the impact he's having, similarly spending time with you guys today and being able to share my journey and what the foundation is doing. And I think all of those things make me grateful for what good has come out of this. Just before I came on this show, I went for a quick walk. There's a bakery down the road, a Middle Eastern bakery down the road where I live. I went and got myself a little snack, walked back home, had a snack. Now I'm talking to you. So, and you know, given the situation, as I said, comparatively, we all have a job still. It might be reduced hours. It may not be what we are used to, but we have a job. We've made out of this crisis without, you know, any major damage. So personally, and as a citizen, I feel grateful. I think there's a lot to be grateful about.
Absolutely, there is, and you know, I'm a little jealous about that Middle Eastern bakery down the road, mate. I reckon I can handle that. So, James, what are you grateful for today? Part of the challenge that we do have, Cash, is that James and I do this every day, and it's about really looking hard at what we are grateful for. And it's not a flippant thing; it's something we take very seriously. So, James, what are you grateful for today?
Look, I was thinking back before I jumped on today, and my father is from Italy and was born there some years back, and I was just thinking that, one, I'm grateful that he and his family who still live over there, or my family, are healthy and safe in what is a very difficult time for that country. But I'm also grateful for that multiculturalism and my connection to a different country. I'm fortunate enough to have another passport as well, so I can go visit there. But it's a chance to learn and about a different culture, and you know, again, fortunately, have travelled there a few times and been immersed in it. And it's as I get older, I'm very much more appreciative of that connection. So very grateful for that when I look back with that family connection. Barry, what about you? What are you grateful for today?
Well, taking inspiration from someone, I'm really grateful to be here with the two of you, of course. No, which I am, and always are with our guests and Cash. We've had some amazing guests, and they've really shared a lot with us. But Thursday, 11 July, it's here, it's today. Footy's back.
Oh, yes.
Mighty Tigers playing tonight, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm so grateful. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't go to the games, but AFL football at all levels is part of our culture, especially here in Melbourne. So I'm really, really grateful that tonight I can sit down and watch that game. And yeah, it's probably a little bit shallower than what you guys talked about. But I'm
no,
really
man, it's very, very meaningful, and I'm lucky enough to see in my line of work how much football means to people. And you know, we throw around the cliche that in Victoria, footy is a religion. I got no doubt, mate. Working in the industry, you just see how much people care about this game and what it stands for. So not shallow at all.
Barry, Cash, thank you for sharing. And Cash, look, I've learned a lot about the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation. I'm really excited about the opportunities that the Wyndham community will have moving forward. So thank you for giving up your time and providing that really great overview and the wonderful journey that you've been on to get where you are. And yeah, I suppose maybe if you to leave us today, what's the one thing that you're looking forward to in the next sort of coming months as we hopefully get back to some sort of normal?
Yeah, before we go there, what's your football team?
I'm a Bombers man.
Oh, yeah, okay. I've been there. I used to work there, so got a soft spot for the Bombers.
Yeah, and you only have good things to say, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry,
Also, look, so for your question, I think professionally and personally, I will break it down in two ways. Professionally, I'm looking forward to finally rolling out our program. So the youth program starts in mid-June, and the Sons of the West starts in July. So we'll be opening the registrations for Sons of the West soon. So even for your audience, if they can go on our website and our social media channels on Community Foundation, they can find those details. And if they want to join the programs, that will be fantastic. So professionally, that's what I'm looking for the programs to start. And personally speaking, I actually been endeavoring to join the Army Reserves for a really long time. And I was enlisted just in January, and was supposed to go on my first training course in June, which now I pushed back because I felt it was not the right time for me to go. But hopefully I can go in August. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to.
That is absolutely awesome, Cash. And look, just amazing the richness and that you've given us today in all of your stories from both a personal and professional level are fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, James Robertello. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Stay healthy, look after each other, and most of all, keep smiling. Bye for now.